The house always wins in this episode of Atari Archive. From early on, video games have been translating the games people play in the physical realm to the digital. Sometimes this manifests as a sport, like racing cars, but it can also take the shape of something you might play in everyday life. One of the earliest computer games was the 1954 computer conversion of Blackjack, done on an IBM 701 by Los Alamos engineers to break down the best ways to play the game, and it's not terribly surprising that the game was among the earliest programmable console games either. Fairchild released a version of Blackjack for its Channel F console alongside the console's launch in 1976, and RCA's own conversion came out in the summer of 1977, shortly before the Atari's came out in September. The ubiquity of Blackjack isn't too surprising. It's a popular card game that's also simple enough that it could be coded within the space confines of early cartridges. And since Blackjack is ultimately a contest between a dealer and the individual player, it avoids the complexity of poker, bridge, or a myriad of other card games that would see VCS conversions in the coming years. Bob Whitehead wrote Blackjack on the heels of his Starship One conversion, jumping from outer space action to a slower-paced gambling game. Blackjack was the first 2600 game to rewrite copied player graphics on the fly, which would later be used in games to generate 6-character score ranges. In a digital press interview, he said that about halfway through its development, he really wanted to expand it to include other card games, but since it was important to pump out product, he ended up shelving his expansive design goals. He would end up revisiting the concept with 1979's Casino, which was a larger cart that included stud poker and solitaire poker alongside Blackjack. Even though its sequel renders the original Blackjack a superfluous part of the VCS library, it's not a bad rendition of Blackjack. The player bets up to 25 chips and is dealt a pair of cards, and is given the option to try and double their bet for an additional card. Hit for as many cards as they want, or stand and see if their hand beats the dealer's. Whoever comes closest to 21 without going over wins. If there's a tie, the computer wins. The player can win the game overall by taking in 1,000 chips, or lose by going completely broke. The game uses paddle controllers, and they work pretty well, providing a pretty smooth cycle through the game's menus and allowing for up to 3 players at once. The game even includes a little sound effect for the dealer cutting the cards whenever you end up getting through the bulk of the deck. The difficulty switches adjust the rules of the game. The left switch will determine if the dealer shuffles the cards after every hand or after 2/3 of the deck has been cleared. The right difficulty switch sets the game to casino rules. Ties don't impact your score. The dealer must hit a soft 17 or less. The dealer stays on hard 17s. And the player is allowed to double their bet on the first hit if they have a 10 or 11. The player is also allowed only 4 hits. The game's select switch allows a player to leave or join the table. And that's really about it for Blackjack. It reviewed well in the winter 1979 issue of Video magazine, where it was called a good game for adults, but it seemed to fly under the radar in other publications and columns. The Sears version didn't even get a goofy alternative name, though it does have cover art that is marginally less 70s. It may not necessarily be the least of Atari's 1977 offerings, but in the 21st century, it's more of a curiosity than a game worth revisiting. Next time, it's a pop quiz with basic math.